Hey everyone, welcome back to the NES Archive, where we are taking a look at the North American NES library, one game at a time. Today's game was originally released for the Nintendo Entertainment System on October 18th, 1985. It is the last of the launch games, and this episode is about Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers was part of the action series of games. It is a platformer. It is the platformer. The tagline is, "Do you have what it takes to save the Mushroom Princess?" Let's take a look at the back of the box. You'll have to think fast and move even faster to complete this quest. The Mushroom Princess is being held captive by the evil Koopa tribe of turtles. It's up to you to rescue her from the clutches of Koopa King before time runs out. But it won't be easy. To get the princess, you'll have to climb mountains, cross seas, avoid bottomless pits, fight off turtle soldiers, and a host of black magic traps that only a Koopa King can devise. It's another non-stop adventure from the Super Mario Brothers. Mario was developed by Nintendo R&D 1. The design team was star-studded. The director was Shigeru Miyamoto. The assistant director was Takashi Tezuka. The two of them also designed all of the art for the game. The producer was Hiroshi Ikeda, and Super Mario Brothers was programmed by Toshihiko Nakago and Kazuki Morita. The music was by the great Koji Kondo. I don't need to list off the other games that this team made. That they share some of the greatest credits in video gaming history, and they made Mario, for crying out loud. So according to the manual, the story goes that one day the kingdom of the peaceful mushroom people was invaded by the Koopa, a tribe of turtles famous for their black magic. The quiet, peace-loving mushroom people were turned into mere stones, bricks, and even field horsehair plants. I don't know what that is. And the Mushroom Kingdom fell into ruin. The only one who can undo the magic spell on the mushroom people and return them to their normal selves is Princess Toadstool, the daughter of the Mushroom King. Unfortunately, she's presently in the hands of the great Koopa Turtle King. Mario, the hero of the story, maybe. I'm not sure why they put it in parentheses there. Hears about the Mushroom People's plight and sets out on a quest to free the Mushroom Princess from the evil Koopa and restore the fallen kingdom of the Mushroom People from the black magic of the Koopa. Everyone knows how the Mario games work. You control Mario, and for the most part, you run from left to right across the screen, jumping over and on top of enemies in order to deal with them. You break blocks by hitting them from below with your fist, and coins and power-ups can come out of these blocks that you break, which is kind of weird because in the story it said that Koopa used his black magic to turn the people of the Mushroom Kingdom into these blocks and bricks. So is Mario killing them? I don't know. It's not anything I ever thought about before. Power-ups come out of these power-ups like mushrooms. They make you bigger, flowers that let you shoot fire, and stars that can make you invincible. Between the swimming courses and the normal courses, the ones that are like 1-1, you can also jump on giant mushrooms, and there's dungeons. There's a lot of variety in Super Mario Brothers. There's also a lot of variety in the enemies as well. You had the Hammer Brothers, the Piranha Plants, the Goombas, which killed so many players. That Goomba on the first level got a lot of people. But there's a lot of variety in the game, and this is one of the things that I feel like Nintendo did such a great job with, is just the sheer variety. It never seems to get stale when you're playing the game. There's always something that changes. Maybe it's just a palette swap, but for the most part, it keeps it fresh. Like I said, there were lots of enemies, and you had different ways of dealing with them. The Hammer Brothers killed me so many times. I always dreaded seeing those things when I was a kid. There were a lot of secrets in the game as well. Pipes that led to secret subworlds. There were warp zones, hidden blocks, infinite life trick. There's more, but it gave us kids so much to talk about at the playground. Some of the things were just rumors. Some of them were confirmed. Everybody would constantly say, like, you can jump over the flagpole, which I guess you actually can. I've never actually seen it happen, but I guess you actually can jump over the flagpole, which is crazy to me. Like, this is one of those rumors that we talked about on the playground, and that some kid would say, I jumped over the flagpole yesterday, and then we would all go home and we would try it, and we would not succeed at it, and then we'd come to school the next day and we would call that kid a liar. We'd say, there's no way that you did that. Nobody can jump over the flagpole in this game. It's things like that really bring a game to the forefront of somebody's mind, because you're constantly thinking about it and talking about it. And any game that can make you talk about it when you're not playing it, I feel like Super Mario Brothers was the first one to really do that. And I think most of it is because of the secrets. Those secrets that are in the game, they really add so many layers to the game, and there's a lot of different ways to play. Yeah, you can beat the game in 5 minutes if you're really, really, really good. But for the most part, it would take a lot longer to finish. And I know I never beat it in 5 minutes, although when I was a kid, my dad had, this was the one game that my dad would play, and he ended up, he got his time down to like 10 minutes beating that, which is pretty awesome for somebody who never plays games. Super Mario Brothers got fantastic reception back in the 80s, back in 85 when it came out. Generation 4 gave the game a 98. Power Play gave it a 92. The Games Machine, which is a UK publication, gave it an 89. They said to play this game is to get hooked. It's simple to understand. It is therefore easy to play. There's no plowing through bedsheet-sized instruction leaflets with this one. Nintendo's small-sized controller might take some getting used to, but perseverance reaps its own reward because the graphics and sound are splendid, combining to make a game that is colorful, jolly, and in places pleasantly frustrating as you try to work out the best route around a problem. And I completely agree here. This game blew me away when I was a kid. Up until the NES, I had an Atari 2600, and that is what I played my games on. I played games like E.T., and you can even see there's some Atari 2600 games stacked up behind me. Like, I had a bunch of Atari 2600 games. I played River Raid, and I played Keystone Capers, and I loved these games. But the moment that I got my Nintendo and I turned it on and I played that pack-in game, Super Mario Brothers, I was instantly just blown away. I could not understand, like the child brain that I had at the time could not understand, how did somebody do this when you look back at what I was playing before and compare it to Super Mario Brothers. The graphics were absolutely astounding, and the music was fantastic, and the sound effects were great. I mean, Mario had different sound effects if he was big or little. And you even got different music if you picked up the star. It's all of these things that brought together to make Mario one of the masterpieces of all time. I mean, I can safely say that there's no way I would be doing what I'm doing right now if it weren't for this game, Mario. Okay, let's talk about a little bit of trivia about the game. I'm sure you know, if not all of these, probably most of them, but these are my favorite bits of trivia about Super Mario Brothers. First off, if you look at the cover, Mario dies on the cover of the game. He's jumping against a wall into a pit of lava. He's dead. He's not going to survive. The early level design, the mushrooms versus the Goombas. So Shigeru Miyamoto was interviewed many times, and he talked about the way that they designed World 1-1 in order to teach the player how to play without making them like read a manual for it. And it's actually pretty brilliant. The player starts and they run to the side, and there's a Goomba there, and they run into the Goomba. That kills them. Then they go back and they try again. And this time I'm going to jump over the Goomba. But when they jump over it, you can almost not avoid that question mark block on 1-1, and a mushroom pops out. Now, the mushroom is the same shape as the Goomba, so of course the player is going to try and avoid it, but because they just finished jumping, they'll usually have trouble avoiding it. It's not that it's unavoidable, but for the most part, it's not easy for a novice to avoid that mushroom. And then suddenly the character's bigger. So now the player has understood that there's a difference between mushrooms and Goombas, even though they're the same shape. And of course, hitting one of those things from below pops out a power-up. So what is the player going to do? Well, they're going to try to do that again. And now Mario is breaking those blocks when he jumps. It's a wonderfully designed first few seconds of the game because it teaches you how to play without making you read a manual or having text scrolling across the screen. What a wonderfully designed, it might be the best designed first level of a game ever. Mario's visual design, it was necessitated by the limitations at the time. Mario has a mustache in order to avoid having to deal with a mouth. He has a hat so that they don't have to deal with hair in the games, because these things were difficult to convey when you had such a small sprite and only a few colors to deal with. They put overalls on him so that you could see his hands moving back and forth as he ran. It's just amazing how the limitations of the technology at the time gave us what is essentially one of the most widely recognized characters of all time. Bowser, his nemesis, actually started out as an ox. Now, this I did not know about ahead of time, but I learned it when I was researching this video. But there was a misunderstanding, and so somebody thought that it was a turtle when Shigeru Miyamoto submitted the first sketch of it. So then they kind of worked together on it, and now we have the Bowser that we know today. He's kind of a cross between an ox and a turtle, which is really weird. And no, he is not a dragon. He is a turtle. This one I never noticed before when I was a kid, but I was reading about this, and I definitely wanted to find out if it was true. And it is. But if you kill Bowser with a fire flower in the first 7 worlds, it actually shows that he's a smaller enemy wearing a Bowser suit, which is really, really funny. It's not anything that I ever knew before, but I was so happy to have uncovered it. And then I loaded it up on my NES Classic and tried it out. And sure enough, it's a little I think that in the video that you're watching now, you probably can see a Spiny wearing the Bowser suit when I kill him with the fire flower. How awesome is that? Super Mario even had a cereal. It was packaged with a Zelda cereal, and they were called the Nintendo Cereal System. And then fast forward to 2017, there was a cereal that came out last year to promote Super Mario Odyssey. So Nintendo likes cereal, I guess. There was even a cartoon that had Captain Lou Albano, the wrestler, playing Mario, and Danny Wells playing Luigi in the live action segments between the cartoon segments. And you know, if you take out all of the live action segments, the cartoon's not terrible. It's, it's made for kids and it's fun. It's just good, dumb fun. But those live action segments were pretty terrible. Now, there's no denying that Mario inspired some people to grow up and make games of their own. In fact, Gears of War creator Cliff Bleszinski actually had his name in the Nintendo Power magazine for the #1 highest score for Super Mario Brothers, this is also a thing that is really cool, because the way that they designed the game is that, sure, you can go for beating it as fast as possible. Speedrunners, they do that a lot. You could also go for who can go through every world and get the most points. So at the end, they have a high score. This is something that allows, the way that the game is designed basically allows you to define your own fun and your own way of doing it. And sure, there are warp zones that can let you skip the game, but a lot of the fun can be missed by skipping all that stuff. Here's something that's going to ruin the game for you if you didn't already know this, although I think it's pretty widely known. The bushes and the clouds are actually the same sprite, just with a different color. There, I've ruined the game for you. Sorry. No one is 100% sure when the game was actually released, which is kind of crazy to think about. This is one of the biggest games of all time. How come nobody has this information written down somewhere? But you have to remember that this was right at the United States had just had the video game crash of 1983, and nobody was interested in video games. And Nintendo comes out of nowhere and makes all of these crazy promises to retailers, like anything that doesn't sell, we'll take back. We will man the stations ourselves to try and sell these things. But Nintendo, they just didn't keep good enough records back then, I guess, because they were just happy that anybody was buying something. But no one's 100% sure when the game was released. I did read an interview with Bruce Lowry. He was VP of sales at Nintendo of America back at the time, and he remembers that it was definitely there as part of the test launch. There's also some magazines, or not magazines, but newspaper advertisements that are saying that Super Mario Brothers is purchasable on this date. So I think that it was a launch game. Most people agree that it was a launch game, but there's no hard and fast timeline for back then, because video games were small business until Nintendo came along. Well, there you have it. That is the last of the launch games for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Which of them was your favorite? I know mine. Let me know what yours was. And that's it for this episode of the NES Archive. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.